Hello everyone, my name is Baja Abu Garbiya, and I just want to focus your attention on the images here on the screen, starting with the ones on your left. This is what your world looks like in 2019. Compare this with the images to your right. This is what our world looks like in 2029. Well, I know most of you are wondering how we achieved this big of a difference in just one decade. Well, the answer is the Green New Deal. And I'm sure most of you are aware of the Green New Deal, but I'm also sure that none of you would have expected it to reach the great successes that it did throughout these 10 years. And although a lot of industries were changed by the Green New Deal, yet the one that I will be talking about, and perhaps one of the most important, is the transportation industry. So why did we focus on the transportation industry back in 2019? Well, as you can see here by the graph, the transportation industry has actually become one of the most polluted industries in our society during the years leading up to 2019. Therefore, we believe that for a green revolution to occur, there must be a change to the transportation industry. However, let me tell you, it was not an easy task. And one of the main reasons behind that is because the transportation industry is very diverse. As you can see here by the graphs, the CO2 emissions in the transportation industry were not only split into different members of our society, but they were also split into different means of transportation, like cars, ships, trucks, and planes. Our first project in the transportation industry had the main aim of giving more access to green energy to a wider fraction of the population, because we knew that the technology existed back then. I'm talking about solar cars, electric cars, etc. The problem was that they were just so expensive that they were only affordable to a small part of our society. However, that was not the case in 2029. Why? Well, first of all, in 2020, the government passed in a subsidy that caused the prices of electric vehicles to significantly decrease. Moreover, the government invested in the program so that the infrastructure would be catered more towards electric vehicles. For example, we currently have much more charging stations than we had back in 2019. However, we also recognized that there was a big problem with electric vehicles, because although they were able to eliminate pipeline emissions, yet the energy was just as clean as the method used to generate the electricity. And unfortunately, back in 2019, a big chunk of this energy was coming from burning fossil fuels. So what we did is, along with the subsidy that was passed in 2020, we also passed in a law that stated that at least 80% of the energy that is used to power these electric vehicles must be generated through renewable means. And that is why the government invested in expanding the current solar and wind farms to generate more renewable energy to power these electric vehicles. Our second main project in the transportation industry had to do with the public transportation system. As you know, in 2019, your current public transportation system is highly inefficient and highly polluted. So we wanted to create a much more efficient public transportation system that was also green and affordable for the common US citizen. So what we did is we planned very efficient bus routes and implemented them into the big cities of the US. Not to mention that the buses were now fully electric. We also took this opportunity to integrate the idea of fully electric buses into other parts of our society. For example, we currently have fully electric school buses, delivery trucks, as well as food trucks. In my opinion, our biggest success in the public transportation system must be the transcontinental train. Because although it started as a small project in the East Coast in 2022, yet in 2026 it actually became one of the biggest systems in the US. And not to mention that it was fully electric as well as very affordable for the American citizen. Along with trying to decrease the energy generated through burning fossil fuels, we also wanted to decrease the general consumption of energy. And the way we wanted to do so is by encouraging alternative means of transportation that do not use as much energy, like walking, biking, or skateboarding, for example. And the way we did it is by focusing on improving the infrastructure. For example, in 2029, we currently have much safer and wider bike lanes, as well as wider walking paths for the citizens. We also tried to condense big cities so that less people had to commute long distances to work, and were currently able to walk or bike to work, for example. Although we achieved a lot of successes throughout this decade, yet there's also a lot of projects that are still in progress. For example, we are yet to invent our first fully electric plane or fully electric ship. But in the meantime, we were successful in inventing or creating much more efficient fuel so that the planes and ships would release a significantly lower amount of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. This will not be an easy journey for you guys. You'll probably face a lot of problems throughout this decade. And perhaps one of the most important ones is the lack of finance. Because throughout these 10 years, your programs will be highly dependent on investments coming in from the private and public sector. And at times, you'll find that money is short. And that is why I emphasize the importance of planning. Another main problem that you'll probably face is the opposition and backlash from the big oil companies or the big traditional car companies who will be fighting against most of the policies that you guys will be fighting for. And that is why I urge you guys to focus on your goals and stay motivated throughout your journey, because these companies will learn eventually to expand into the electric market. Along with these great changes come also a lot of opportunities. For example, because of a large increase in the demand of renewable energy, there will be a lot of new construction projects to expand the current and build new solar farms and wind farms, which means that there will be a lot of new jobs that are available for the American people. Along with this opportunity come also a big responsibility, because you must always ensure that all of these new jobs that are being created offer a good and safe working condition accompanied by a sufficient salary, because you must sustain the support of the American people throughout your journey. By doing so, you'll not only be helping the environment, but you'll also be contributing to the economic success of the US. See the bright future that I allowed you guys to envision? Well, the only way it's going to happen is if you act now. It is time you acknowledge the world you created, and most importantly, the world that you are on the verge of losing. It is the Anthropocene that Clark was talking about, the world that you created from the previous Earth, and the world that you have the power to change. Finally, I want to emphasize one last main factor of success, which is education. Like what Carson was saying, you cannot get the support of the people if they are unaware of what they are doing, or if they are unaware of the threat that is endangering their existence. Therefore, I urge you guys to focus on environmental education as well as advertising your programs. Thank you guys, that was all for me.